So here's a question for you. Do you think narcissistic abuse can cause a nervous breakdown? What do you think? Your answers, please drop them in the comments. And before I give you my answer, if you are new to this channel and are finding or will find or hopefully find this video helpful, please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps all of us because the more this channel grows, the more it gets suggested, and the more people understand narcissistic abuse, and it'll help all of us, the more of us that are actually able to understand this. The less narcissists getting supply, right? Now, this is a question that has come in, this nervous breakdown question. This is a question that has come in more than a few times, and I thought it deserves a bit of a deep dive. So let's start with basics. This idea of a nervous breakdown. It's a sort of a dated term, right? It's not something we talk about anymore. It's very non-specific, and it can mean lots of things, like a person experiencing exhaustion at such a level that they are no longer able to work or may even need to be hospitalized, or that a person has a severe enough mental health crisis, could even involve depression or anxiety, that they need to be hospitalized or get intensive treatment, or they feel as though they cannot participate in their own lives, or they can't care for children, or they can't get out of bed, and they may feel physically ill. As I said, this term takes in so much territory because it's a very non-specific term. But this idea of a nervous breakdown in general means that a person is experiencing significant impairment, significant distress, and a loss of functioning. Some people might even feel as though they sort of snap, that they're no longer able to cope, that they don't feel safe, that they feel that they could harm themselves, that they may throw things or yell or do things that they ordinarily would never do. So, could a person experiencing narcissistic abuse have a nervous breakdown? Yeah, I guess the answer to that is yes. Yes, a person can have a so-called nervous breakdown. It's not common. In fact, it's probably quite rare in survivors, but yes, it can happen. And I believe that these breakdowns are the opportunity cost of staying in one of these relationships, or the agony of going through a punitive divorce, or dealing with a really, really difficult family system. Lots of people feel like these relationships leave them feeling like they've lost touch with reality, but also feel that they cannot get the help that they need. They don't feel they could sort of roll up to their doctor's office and say, "Hey, doc, I'm having a nervous breakdown because of narcissistic abuse." The doctor might sort of look at them strangely, and most healthcare providers would not know what they were talking about. So that's probably not the best strategy. Now, first of all, I want to say this. If you are experiencing a significant mental health crisis, or you feel you are at risk of harming yourself or someone else, you need to seek out emergency mental health services right away. That may even involve showing up at an emergency room or checking into a mental health facility or mental health residential facility, or if you have a therapist, calling them right away or calling your physician. Your safety is what is most important, as is the safety of those around you. Please click the links in the top right corner of the screen for resources and emergency hotlines. If, though, what your experience is not that emergent or acute, but you feel as though sort of the bottom has fallen out of your life, let me tell you here, the first thing I want you to know is that the stress of these relationships, especially if it feels like there's no end in sight, or the abuse is frequent and you don't have adequate supports, and a lot of people experiencing narcissistic abuse don't. This is actually not an abnormal reaction to this much unrelenting stress. Stress for which there's often insufficient help. People actually do succumb to stress exhaustion, and narcissistic abuse is one of those chronically stressful situations. And the helplessness of the situation is what can make it worse. For most people who are experiencing stress exhaustion, some rest, good nutrition, therapy, and coping skills practices, or even just a break, can get them ready to face the world again. For people experiencing narcissistic abuse, rest is necessary. Getting away from the invalidation and verbal abuse is necessary. Therapy is useful. But when the period of rest is done, the person's right back into a situation that's not going to change. While a break is important, it's not a magic pill. Now, many people with narcissistic abuse are very, very quick to self-blame and to pathologize themselves and to say things to themselves like, it's my fault. I'm the one who's too anxious. Oh, I'm so OCD. I'm depressed. I'm a handful. Well, I'm so tired. I yell sometimes too. If I have to go to a mental health facility or a hospital, maybe I'm the one with the issue. I'm the one with the problem. Please let me know in the comments if you have ever blamed or pathologized yourself for your reaction to narcissistic abuse. Experiencers of narcissistic abuse rarely fully understand that their reactions are actually quite normal given the unchanging abuse and gaslighting that they are up against. Narcissistic abuse breaks people. To have your reality doubted on a regular basis breaks you. To be invalidated daily breaks you. To be criticized regularly breaks you. To be mocked and minimized and dismissed breaks you. To deal with someone who can put on a charming mask in public and then yell at you right away in private, that breaks you. And this is an area that is just now being discussed. Many healthcare providers and therapists still don't fully understand it. So many people can't get the help that they need and have been isolated from other people, or they feel a deep sense of shame. So yeah, some people, in some cases of narcissistic abuse, do have this thing that we once called a nervous breakdown. And now, what we would call probably more of an acute stress response, or perhaps a stress disorder. The terms don't matter as much. However, when this happens, it is a major sign that you need to get the help and the support that you need. Narcissistic abuse is cumulative. It adds up over time. The longer and more severe the exposure you experience, the more likely that you are to experience the negative effects of it. And it can take a severe toll on your overall health. I have seen more than a few people get to this point, and I know that they will be okay, that their reaction is human. However, getting to okay means taking the steps that you need for your health. If you had, let's say you had a heart attack, or you had a cancer diagnosis, or you had a broken arm, you would go get the help that you need. Breaking down and not being able to function in the face of an abusive relationship is the same thing. It's the same wake-up call to making sure you go out there and get the help that you need. So, thank you again for tuning in. If you did find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up if you did, liking this video, leaving the comments, and engaging with this population, but a bunch of people going through the same thing. It helps this channel grow and helps more people learn about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And I love reading your comments. It's where do you think the ideas for lots of these future videos come from? So thanks again.